This is... Oh, we're streaming now?
Yeah.
Because sometimes technology sucks ass.
Yeah.
This is one of those times.
It was all good.
Now we look like amateurs.
Well, we are kind of amateurs to the live streaming technology
Actually,
world.
not untrue, right? I should say good morning now.
Do it.
Good morning now.
Good morning now.
Yes. Welcome to Brian and Carrie in the Morning. This is our pre-show. Today's show, the power of vulnerability, how the real truth will set you free. And we're going to give a lot of, I said 3, but it's going to be more like 6 because you have 3 and I have 3.
Yeah.
Really honest and really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like shocking admissions.
Yeah, and
we're going to explain why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wrote mine out today and...
yeah, you did.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever really shared these with anybody outside of you and some of probably my private coaching clients.
Yeah.
There's some of these that I've never shared with anybody.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second. You kind of watch them under. You share them with private coaching clients.
Yes.
And part of the reason is that there's an intimate setting.
Yep.
And you, in being vulnerable, is helping someone who is working very intimately with you allow themselves to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And that's the point.
Right.
Okay.
Which I'll talk a lot more about.
Oh,
after.
I have so many notes right now. And even though we're in a pre-show, I'm actually going to start. Okay? I'm going to not start the stuff.
Okay.
I'm not going to start the stuff.
I was like, we're going to jump right to the show
No,
today.
I'm going to start the preamble just a little bit, okay? I want everyone out there right now, and I'm going to say good morning to everybody in 1 second. I want you to think about this, okay? Think about this one sentence as it relates to vulnerability, and see if you can connect the dots with where we're going, okay? Wherever you go, there you are. Okay, now this show is all about vulnerability. Wherever you go, there you are. I'll come back to that when we actually start the show, but everybody in the pre-show right now, think about that for a second.
I am so curious to know where you're going with that. Good morning, Christine, Caitlin, Michelle, Loria.
Lori Petrucci's here.
Loria, I know you're watching right now. Could you tell me if we look a little fuzzy? Lisa, Michelle, Lisa, Connie, Tiffany, Brian Sakowitz, Mike, Papa Dravlogs, Michelle Adams, Karen Roberts, Tiffany Maxim, Laurel, and, Elisa again. Welcome to Thursday's rendition of Brian and Carrie in the Morning.
My seat was not where I wanted it to be.
That's my fault. You know why it was my fault?
It's okay.
I sat down first.
You did fine. By the way, the share captain, Brian Sakowitz.
He's already on it.
Brian Bag of Brains is already on it.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, what I want today is I want the equivalent of yesterday. We're going to go, because I'm not going to be like crazy and go like, oh, let's get 200 shares. Not yet, at least.
Soon.
But I was like, let's target the same thing for today. 100 shares today.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to explain. I'm going to talk to that in 1 second. I want to say this, though. Lisa Arsenault, Michelle Adams. These are people right off the bat who are saying, oh, I so need to hear this today. And I want to know why. What do you think we're going to talk about that you so need to hear this today? I'm so excited to hear that. Okay, so Dominic, bonjour à toi.
Dominic Siot.
What? Karen Roberts, that was a quote of one of my teachers wrote in my yearbook in 1978. So cool. I'm going to explain that quote from a very different angle today, Karen, just so you know. Christine Bassista agrees that she needs to hear this today as well. I'm so interested to figure out why.
You know what? I actually, after I learned how to become vulnerable, I love being vulnerable.
I agree. It becomes really contagious,
yes.
Brian Sakowitz, if we want the same as yesterday, he better get out of here.
Oh, no, don't go, Brian. Don't go. So I have a really quick story to tell you that has nothing to do with vulnerability while people are sharing their comments.
Yes.
So we woke up this morning a little earlier than the alarm and went upstairs. And in the process of going upstairs, I made coffee like I always do.
Yeah.
My eyes were half closed.
Always.
So I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing.
Yes.
And I stirred my coffee and I sat down and I started to take sips out of my coffee. Ooh, that's a different morning show. If I don't stop talking, he's not going to swallow. Everybody wait.
If I don't stop talking, he's not going to swallow? You say to the guy who's choking on liquid? Come on!
Maybe I did that on purpose. Okay. So
That's not fair.
I took a couple of sips of my coffee, and on the third sip, I realized I have a chunk. I had a chunk in my mouth.
Okay.
And I'm like, so you ever do that? Like you get something in your mouth that you weren't expecting? And I'm like, oh, like I'm like this. I'm like, oh, what is? And I can't just spit it out because I'm not near a sink. So I go over to the sink and I spit it out, and it was a piece of pineapple.
Oh my God!
A piece of pineapple invaded my coffee, and it dawned on me what happened was the dishwasher hadn't washed that spoon very well. There was a piece of pineapple stuck to the back of it that I stirred my coffee with.
You know what? Can I stop?
Oh my God! It was traumatic.
No, everyone stop listening. Everybody stop listening. Because everybody right now is where I am. I took a sip of my coffee. If I don't stop talking, he's not going to swallow. You ever find something in your mouth you weren't expecting? This just became the Welcome to Brian and Carrie, the live blowjob show. And absolutely everybody is singing the same thing.
Whatever.
Which I have no problem with.
Good morning.
By the way.
I don't know if it's Gil or it's Jill Morocco.
Yes.
But, welcome to the show, Gil or Jill. Gil, can you tell us if it's Gil or Jill?
Is it Carrie's beard or mine?
And you think I have a beard? No, I pluck those hairs. I get those hairs because women can relate to this. As you age, black hairs pop up on your face, and you're like, where did these come from? How is that so vulnerable?
So many people. Even Jamie Sock is here. Chris Goldowski, one of my all-time faves, is here. Clint Foray is here. I love Caitlin Graham. I love Cecily. I love Yoli.
I'm with you on the dishwasher thing. I'm having an issue with this dishwasher.
Right? Okay, but before we're going to run out of time in the pre-show, just a reminder, the power of vulnerability, how the real truth will set you free. And I am going to say something now, okay? So yesterday we got over 100 shares.
Yes,
and that's what you've decided you want again today. But we're going to remind you why.
Yep.
Okay? It's now, I'm officially calling it, because she chimed in yesterday, I'm officially calling it the Dr. Ann Shivitz reason.
I love that.
Okay? Because she gave us the best reason in the entire world that we could ever ask for as to why we want people to share our show. Because she has a patient who does not know us, but Ann shares our show religiously. And her patient, who's going through a challenging time right now, said, by the way, thank you for sharing that show. If you ever talk to Brian and Carrie, thank them for me. They've helped me get through a tough time. Vulnerability, as you are going to find out, is one of the greatest reasons right now you have limits. And we are going to help you eliminate those. We're going to help you eliminate them by revealing our vulnerability. We're not going to ask you to share if you don't want to, but we're going to sit here naked in front of you. No joke, okay? People need to hear this. People need to hear that it's okay to say I fuck up. It's okay. It's okay that, boy, if everybody knew what was going through my brain, they'd think I was crazy. It's okay. Because as soon as you get real with that truth, you eliminate the limit.
Completely.
Vulnerability is the greatest currency I've ever known in terms of eliminating your limits.
I couldn't agree more. I'm really
So let's get the share train out there right now.
I also welcome to Tom Jacobs, who I believe is either new to the show or the first time chiming in. If you're new to the show, or if you're quietly watching and wherever you are in the world, could you just give us a hey, Brian and Carrie, so we can welcome you personally? It's always fun for us to be able to do that.
I agree with that. And Captain Sakowicz is not happy. You have 14 shares. People.
Don't get Captain Sakowicz.
Do not get Bag of Brains angry. By the way, Elsie Lonis is here. Michelle, did I see a deer go by?
No, it was a car. Randomly, every now and then, cars actually drive by.
Yeah, like once every 4 days.
I know, it threw me off too.
See how isn't that the funniest fucking thing? We live in such a secluded area that when I saw something go by, I assumed it was a fucking deer.
I know.
That's awesome.
I'm so with you on that.
Michelle Bracco, where is she? I saw her. She's here. I love her.
I have a feeling today is going to be a barn burner!
What the fuck is that?
I don't know. Whatever. I just like to keep it real for the people.
That was real?
That was real.
Do it again.
I think today's gonna be a barn burner!
Fucking hell. Oh my God.
Good morning, Brianna. We are 18 seconds away from us diving deep on some of our greatest vulnerabilities.
Kristen, Janine, Lee Patterson, Cynthia, Brianna, so many wonderful people are here. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy. This is going to be a great show, but seriously, hold on. Hold on to your seats because we are going to come at you with some stuff that is going to rock your world and absolutely help you eliminate those limits. So, with that, how about we get rocking now? Hey, Crew Nation, let's eliminate your limits. Too much talking about...
See my fancy pants, Dave?
Oh, look at you. Eliminate your limits.
It has to come out, though. Hold on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Pull.
There we go. Pull, push. I'm just a little confused at how everything's working right now.
Carrie's getting fancy today.
Yeah, right on. Well, welcome to Brian and Carrie in the Morning. We're live from the absolutely stunning Mount Tremblant, Quebec. Live 5 mornings a week, Monday through Friday. 10 a.m. Eastern, we get kicked off, but our pre-show starts at 9:50, and that's when you should join us, because that's when Carrie talks about blowjobs, of all
I
things.
didn't even talk about blowjobs.
Little bit she did.
I was going to say something inappropriate.
Metaphorically, you did.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, today's show is actually quite serious. There's another car just went by, and it's fucking me up right now. God. Today's show, the power of vulnerability, how the real truth will set you free. We're going to give you a series of shocking and honest admissions about us and our life. And I want to now take a moment to frame it.
Yes, let's
Okay?
do it.
Now, I'm doing a couple things with what I'm about to say. Okay, number one, our very own Carrie Campbell, just last week, got nominated by PTZ Optics as the best female host of a live stream in the world. Now, that's awesome. And as soon as we have details about where you can vote to have this little luxurious creature here win, we'll give you those details. But why am I announcing that today? What is the point of that, and how does it wrap into the show? Okay? Most people don't know the whole concept of goals and goal setting is actually split into two categories. Okay? We have what's called intrinsic goals and extrinsic goals. Now, make money, start a great business, fall in love, lose weight and keep it off. Those are the common goals that people set. Be more organized, that kind of thing, right? Those are actually extrinsic goals.
That's right.
They are goals outside of us that we try to strive towards. Okay, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But what most people don't know is that the world, all the human species, we come equipped with intrinsic goals.
Yes.
Meaning we all share them. Okay, we all share. This is like a Chinese thread. It connects us all. There are 3 intrinsic goals. Okay, those intrinsic goals are to know and live in your own truth, to really know yourself.
Yes.
To know who you are, understand yourself, and walk in that footstep. Okay? The second intrinsic goal is to be happy, to be internally peaceful and happy. The third intrinsic goal is to serve, make a difference, belong to something, be included in something where service and helping others is part of the dialogue and the culture. Those are 3 intrinsic goals. They're mapped in our DNA. That is what every human being strives for. And this is where I'm going to circle it back is, okay, how does that connect to your nomination?
Yeah.
We're only 3 months old as a live stream. Someone who is 3 months old as a live stream doesn't get nominated for best host in the world. Why are we being nominated already for one of the better shows on the planet? Because we attack the 3 intrinsic goals that everybody wants. It's not just that we help you create a better business or help you lose weight or help you find love. We help you know yourself and walk in that truth.
Yes.
We help you understand how to layer off so that you reveal the happiness you already are. We help you belong to something called Crew Nation, where service is the culture. That's why this show to me is so valuable.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly important. You can tune into other shows to learn how to buy real estate successfully, how to start a 6-figure company as an entrepreneur. You can tune into any show you want. Those are a dime a dozen. But where is the show that lifts you up from the inside out? That's this show. And that's why nominations are already starting, and that's why this topic is so critical.
Yes on all of that.
Yeah.
And Loria just chimed in agreement with what you said. But she said she's been around this world for a long time, and she 100% agrees that this statement with the statement you made that people don't get nominated that quickly.
Right.
And
Lori is speaking
queen.
of Loria. She's currently nominated for entrance into the Podcasting Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is not a small player.
Exactly.
She's the best in the world.
Right. And so the whole point there is just to further emphasize the point that you made, because I completely agree with you. I have a few things to say on the topic. But
sure, I have a million more things to say.
Before I do, I just want to welcome Amanda Testa Brown.
Oh, right on!
The lovely Mark Testa's wife.
Doug Testa's better
and
half.
Mary
right
Beth Casito. Welcome to the
yes,
show.
Welcome.
We always love newbie crewbies.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about why this particular topic is so powerful for me.
Sure.
And it goes back to my early days in college. You know, when I was studying to become a clinical counselor. Mm-hmm. I remember year one.
Yeah. I know where you're going with this.
One of my classes was communication, like communication 101, right? And I was sitting there, it was like, I don't know, the third class. And we were talking about appropriate communication with your clients versus inappropriate communication with your clients. And my teacher made the point that you should never, ever divulge personal information to your clients.
Right.
And I was young, right? I was like maybe 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And I went like, wait,
it's
what?
Just like a distaste, right?
I was like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I got into a conversation. I remember the dialogue because I was like, so I'm basically in front of clients, begging them and encouraging them to share their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities.
Sure.
But I'm this person who apparently
at this distance who
has this air of perfection. I was like, that doesn't jive with me.
Sure.
You know, so I started sharing very young on.
It's our ethos, isn't it? And here, I'm going to take 20 seconds retelling it, right? You're in the bottom of a hole. No matter what the hole is for you, is it happiness? Is it money? Is it self-worth? Is it your relationships? Is it all of those things? You're in a hole of some kind of magnitude.
Yep.
And you're calling up, you're pleading with someone to help. And the pastor walks by and you ask the pastor for help. The pastor quotes you a Bible verse and throws the Bible down at you and says, there, that's your verse. It's going to help.
Yes.
But it keeps on moving.
Yep.
Okay. Then the psychologist walks by and hears your pleas. So the psychologist listens to your problems for a second, writes down a prescription for medication, throws it down, says there, that'll help, and then keeps on going. What we have done in our entire careers is that you plead for help. We don't keep going. We jump in the hole with you. Yeah. And then you say, but wait a second, Brian and Carrie, you're showing us all your underbelly, your vulnerable side. But now we're both in this hole. But then we get to say, yeah, but we know the way out. Just walk with us. Done.
It gets me.
That is what we're about.
Every time.
Service leadership, like servant leadership, right? So anyways, I have so much more to say. Let me say that first.
Yeah.
I love Crew Nation so much. And this is like the anthem for us.
It is the anthem for us.
So if you're out there, where my crew at?
Crew. I just want to change it up a little bit.
I thought it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Around.
All right, now let me kick off here. Okay, why are we doing this today? What's so funny?
I was watching us on the screen. It was
okay.
Sorry.
We have so many screens. One day, if you come and visit us in our studio, we got monitors there, and they're all on different time delays. So we see things like 4 seconds after they actually happened. Why are we doing this today? The power of vulnerability, how the real truth will set you free. We are going to share some honest, shocking, vulnerable moments of our life with you. Why are we doing this? Okay, now, number one, because vulnerability changed us.
It did.
That when we started being honest, not just with each other, but with ourselves. That is the real linchpin, isn't it? We're not asking you to share it with us if you don't want to. We're suggesting you get honest with you.
Yes.
And guys, we watch the comments every day. We see them every week. There are parts of your lives you're kidding yourselves about. You're lying to yourself. You're deluding yourself. But please, don't take that as a criticism. We all do it. As soon as you stop doing it and you get honest with yourself, everything starts to change.
It really does.
That's the first reason, okay? The second reason is that we are tired of what we call controlled social media content, okay? Now, we all walk in different circles. I get that. So the people we know, you might not know on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. But we know some of the biggest players in the world on Facebook.
Right.
And the content they share with you on their social media is not who they are. And that's not an indictment. I'm not saying they're bad people. What I am saying is that you get hypnotized by seeing the amazing. Look at my mansion. Look at my new car. I make X number of dollars a year.
Yep.
Look at my relationship. Look at my kids. And yet we know these people so well, they're actually in debt.
Yes.
They actually have horrible relationships with their kids. They're actually so insecure. That's the content they put out on purpose and by design for the image. Now, we don't care. We're not shunning them. We're trying to salvage you from looking at that and comparing yourself against it.
Right, because it just deepens the isolation in the hole.
Exactly. Right? And then lastly, why are we putting ourselves out there so naked and telling you our vulnerabilities as opposed just to teaching you why it's important? Hey, everyone, go be vulnerable now. Right. Here's why. Safety. Yeah. You're safe. If we're going to do it, you can do it. At very least in the privacy of your own head.
Yes.
And we want to serve like that. We want to show you the scars and the wins. We're not shy about showing you the wins, but we want you to see the scars as well. Yeah. That's why we're doing this today.
Ooh, you know what? I'm telling you, I know that there's people who are going to be watching this today.
Yeah.
Who are going to, at the end of the show, feel like there is a ton of bricks taken off of their shoulders.
Agreed.
Because they don't feel alone anymore.
Yes.
Because, you guys, I want to say something. We went deep. Like, we really did. I'm not talking about vulnerability like I used to cry all the time 5 days a week, right? We've talked about that. This is stuff that you have not heard before.
Absolutely.
Right? So, yeah. And I want to say, can I be honest? I'm not feeling afraid of sharing this, but
no.
I'm feeling right now well aware of the fact that these are big, deep vulnerabilities for me.
These are private moments, right? These are private moments that we feel are shocking. Now, look, you may not be like, wow, that wasn't so shocking, but they're shocking to us.
Yep.
Just as much as if you tell us that sometimes you overeat because you know you have a void or a lack of self-worth, that wouldn't be shocking for us, but it's big for you.
Yes.
Now, before we actually dive in, I have a couple more things to say.
Oh, I love it.
Okay?
Brian's got so much to say today.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Wherever you go, there you are. If you can't make money, if you are not belonging to something bigger than you and serving, if you don't feel happy, if you can't start that business and make it succeed, if you can't lose weight and keep it off, it's because you have stories. You have limits in your unconscious that need to come out. They need to be rewired. And our big panacea, our big cure-all is awareness. When you become aware of the truth, you can change the truth.
Right.
But until you become aware of the truth, you will delude yourself forever. Wherever you go, there you are. It doesn't matter if you move to a new home, move to a new city, find a new soulmate, buy a new car. And these are the ways we hypnotize ourselves into change. Yeah. We change where we live. We change our job. We change our spouse. We change our inner circle or our circle of influence. We change things on the exterior. Yep. But wherever you go, there you are. Until you clean out the story in the unconscious, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, completely.
That's why we're doing this.
You know,
right?
I actually have a tattoo that's very symbolic of that. That was your words.
Absolutely.
You wrote a quote a couple of years ago that said, "If you never go within, you will always go without."
Yes.
And it lines up with that very, very much. And so
100%.
anything that's very impactful on me, I tend to mark it on my body as a reminder. Because that was when I was going through my vulnerability phase. And so I literally tattooed up here on my shoulder, "Go within or go without," as a continual reminder that if you don't do this work, you never find yourself in the place that you crave to be in.
Right. And I'm just looking at the comments. Lee hugs to you. She's shaking. She's going to cry. Caitlin, Kat Williams. Guys, you're not alone. Yeah. And like, if this is too much for you, then here's what I want you to do. Just listen to us. Yeah. Listen to our vulnerabilities and don't go inside to your own just yet. That's fine.
Absolutely.
We're trying to be a catalyst for you. Yeah. But if it's too much right now, then don't do it. Yeah. Just let us be us. Yeah. And give us the safety to feel like we can do that, which I already do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I'm gonna make one request right now before we dive into these stories that we share it out. Okay, like this is like I'm aiming for the 100 shares again today, but really why I want you to share this out is because there's someone right now in your life that you do not know who is at the bottom of the hole that Brian talked about and desperately is clawing their way out, who needs to hear this to find even a modicum of peace within their chaos. And
faith that they're not alone. Think about those intrinsic goals. We want to feel like we matter. We want to feel like we're part of something. We want to use our lives to serve. You know what the scariest thing in the entire world is? In 12 years clinically depressed, I can tell you, fact, the scariest thing in the entire world, isolation. Loneliness. Completely. That is the most petrifying, paralyzing, vomit-inducing fear I have ever known. Completely. That's why we ask you to share. Because somewhere right now, somebody needs to hear this. Yeah. Big time.
Okay, who's ready to dive in? If you guys are ready to dive in, can we get a cascade of hearts?
Absolutely.
And
I love that.
before we do, I just want to say this to everybody who's maybe feeling a little bit shaky right now. Read the bottom of your screen right now. Don't forget that we love you.
We do!
As you might be feeling some vulnerability.
And we know you love us.
Yes.
Right?
Let's go.
So, I have more. But we're going to start with a couple examples, okay?
Okay, awesome.
So, I'm going to start with this one. Can I start?
You absolutely can start.
You were looking at my mouth again.
Oh, it's sexy. That's why. I don't... Whatever.
Yeah. All right, so... again, we're not ranking these vulnerabilities in terms of if they'd affect you. What we all have to remember is that what we're coming at you with affected us. Okay?
Yes.
So for those of you who do not know, in my past career, I was one of the most well-known fitness professionals on the planet. Okay? I had worked with Olympic gold medalists as a performance coach. I had trained national team athletes. I had trained professional athletes who were making $7 million a year. I started an educational company, all related to youth fitness. I was a consultant for Nike. I was featured in Newsweek magazine, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle. This is me being humble but honest, I started a revolution in this mass fitness industry by making youth-based fitness an important component of what fitness professionals understood. So, I was at one time, I spoke on the Perform Better tour, I lectured in Sweden, Italy, the Czech Republic, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland. I was hired by governmental organizations and private institutions to teach coaches, parents, etc., all about the psychological, emotional, physical, and physiological realities of kids in sport. One of the most decorated and known fitness professionals on the planet. But my deep, dark secret back then is I smoked 2 packs a day. 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And it was such a dissonance. It was such a dissonance to be all heralded as the keeper of youth health and fitness. The guy that the New York Times would call when they wanted to know if this was true or not about this story. The guy who was brought over by Dublin City University to give a lecture in Dublin, Ireland, in Italy, in Sweden, the Czech Republic. And I distinctly remember I hated it when I was given a hotel room because all that shit was paid for and organized for me. I hated it when they gave me a hotel room that was in the middle of nowhere because I couldn't hide. I liked it when they put me in a hotel in the middle of a city because you know what you can find in cities? Alleyways. Alleyways where you can go out of sight. Now I want you to think with this. I was the CEO of the International Youth Conditioning Association. One of the most decorated and well-known fitness pros on the planet. And yet every weekend, no matter where he was in the world, he went and found an alleyway to hide behind a dumpster so he could smoke his cigarettes because at the time, that was the only thing that was giving me peace inside. I was recently divorced. It was a horrible breakup. My self-worth was in the toilet. I had a very small friend network and they were all smokers. And I could keep going on the story, by the way. When I left my wife, I didn't have a working visa in the United States, so I was homeless for a couple of days before a friend of mine allowed me to sleep on her couch. It was a tough time. But my very small circle of friends were smokers. And so I simply, I was, I think, 29 years old. 29 years old, I picked up my first cigarette. You gotta understand, I'm the guy as a kid who would take my dad's cigarettes and when he wasn't looking, break them in half.
Right.
Because I thought it was so filthy and so gross. But they're at 29 years old, making good money, decorated, in the New York Times, in Newsweek, hiding behind dumpsters to have a cigarette because I was so voided on the inside. It was the only thing that made me feel better. And I want to add, it wasn't a chemical thing because I tried food. Food also, I would overeat. But you know what happened? I started gaining weight. And the youth fitness guy of the world couldn't be overweight.
Right.
So I turned to a new vice, which at the time was cigarettes, and hid behind dumpsters so I could appease the void and the lack of self-worth I had. That's my number one vulnerability. You were the first person I told. Carrie was the very first person I told. It was about 8 years ago now, and I told you that a few years prior to that, I had been a closet smoker and how mortified I was and how embarrassed and shamed I was.
Yeah, I remember.
I couldn't even bring myself to tell you.
I remember. And, okay. So I have a few things to say. The first thing I want to say is that when we were talking about this morning, this show, we were actually both referring to the fact that we were referencing that neither one of us can emote to those times anymore.
I can't.
But as
I don't feel emotional.
As I'm sitting here, because I'm such an emotional person, I want to say that I am completely emoting. Like, your story is getting inside of me because I'm remembering what that felt like when you told me.
It was a horrible time.
And, so I just want to say, like, I'm not going to guarantee that I'm not going to cry, people. I'm just saying that. And for me, in the moments like this where I am talking about it and we are going back and looking, there's so much power for me in emoting because I never want to completely forget where I came from. Yeah. Because that is what brought me to where I am. And that's what allows us to jump right into the hole with people. So,
I agree. Well, Carl, I'm glad that Haley says she's never going to smoke. I also said that a lot when I was young. This is not about smoking, advocating for smoking, advocating against smoking. I think we can all agree smoking's bad. Don't do it. This is about a guy saying he suffered from so much mental, emotional turmoil that as CEO of a major organization would find dumpsters and alleyways to go hide behind just to get a fill. That he could numb the pain he was in. That's what this is about. Yeah, I mean, no one has to talk about if smoking is good or bad.
Of course,
absolutely nobody watching right now is stupid. Yeah, we all know it's bad. Right. So let's understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I just want to add that Lisa Arsenault commented up above that she used to smoke 2 packs a day as well. Yeah, and she's so glad she quit. Lee Patterson just commented that she's been 4 months cigarette free.
Gorgeous.
And I wanted to say I'm loving the sharing on that. Yes. Not because you have to share, but because I think that there's so much merit in you standing up and saying, this was me, this is what I did, and this is where I am now.
Absolutely.
We've worked with a lot of people who've had substance abuse or addiction.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? Every single one of the people you've worked with who had substance abuse and addiction issues, that by the way, you have completely cleared them of with their hard work. Every one of them was shamed.
Yeah.
They felt so much shame.
Embarrassed about it.
So this is not about cigarettes. This is about the shame I felt. Yep. And that even after I quit, I still had the hardest time telling Carrie that I used to smoke. Yeah. Because it wasn't smoking. I used to smoke. It was the shame I felt about that.
Yeah.
That was the hard part.
And I want to say something about this because, my reaction was maybe it could have been interpreted as dismissive at the time. Because I was like, okay, whatever. Like, what's the big deal, right? But, I think that even us being aware of our reactions in those situations, like you were great with that reaction. It didn't bother you. But, what's like you said it 1,000 times now, what's important to you and what's shameful for you is not what's shameful for me.
Exactly.
Right? So in those moments where people are sharing their vulnerabilities with you, listening to it,
Can I just stop? John Delancey, thank you. Beautiful comment. I self-medicate with nicotine. That is exactly what I used to do. Yeah. Self-medicate. Even after nearly losing my father to an aneurysm caused by it, I've stepped back. I've moved away from tobacco, but it's still something I struggle with and hide. John, mad love for you. Yeah. That's the kind of vulnerability that changes things. Yep. Because the in brackets and hide is where the limits are.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are not saying tobacco is good or bad, alcohol is good or bad. We're not saying good or bad to anything. Overeating is good or bad. What we're saying is that we hide it. Is the limits that hold us back. Absolutely. That's the key.
Neil McDonald, massive props to you.
Good for
I've
you,
used
brother.
alcohol ever since I was 14.
Yes.
Mad love for you. Guys, we have hit 102 shares.
You guys are the best.
Don't stop.
Honestly, Crew Nation's the best. Keep
sharing because someone's going to be scrolling a newsfeed and is going to see this and their world's going to change. Okay.
Yeah. No, before you go, because I want to weave some of these in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Go, Bubby.
Guys, there's 3 people I've identified in my life. I've been thinking about this for years, okay? You're either a quitter, a camper, or a climber, okay? Quitters are people who see the mountain and say, wow, that's too high. Yep. Not going to go up, okay? Campers are people who work hard, struggle, they get halfway up the mountain, and they go, wow, this is great. Perfectly happy here, not going to go any farther. Climbers are the people who work and struggle and get halfway up the mountain, but no, there's still more. Yeah. There's still more I want to get up the top. I want to go as far as I possibly can in the 80 or 100 or 90 years I'm given. So you know what? I decided this is why vulnerability is so important to me. I wanted to be a climber my entire life. I didn't want to ever have anything left in me that would hold me back.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I want you all to strive to be climbers.
Yeah.
Truly.
Let's all climb together.
Yes.
I love it.
And remember, you get what you commit to. Right? You get what you commit to on that.
Always.
Yep.
Nicole Pogani, who's relatively new to the show, just shared, going out for a smoke was sometimes the only way I felt I could grab a few minutes to myself at work, or how I felt I could justify taking a break when feeling overwhelmed.
Gorgeous.
I'm 4 years smoke-free. When I need a break, I take it.
Congratulations.
Beautiful,
Good for you.
And thank you for the share. Okay. I think it's my turn now.
Yes.
Okay. So, I just want to preamble, I think, all my vulnerabilities by saying that, and I've talked about this many times, that all of my negativity in the past was related to relationship friction.
Yeah.
Relationships was the place that my self-worth was challenged my entire life. And I've tracked it back till I was very young. So, this is funny. I've never told anybody about this. So when I was previously married, and, I am not one of those people who is about bashing on my ex-husband. It's just, it's not my style.
Nope.
It was an unhealthy relationship. End of story. And I talk all the time about the fact that in a relationship, it's a dance of two people. Mm-hmm. So, I was a very passive passenger on that ride who allowed a lot of things to quote unquote happen that I could have stood my ground on, right? But we would get into massive arguments, like just these massive disagreements that would either lead to hours of yelling or days of ignoring.
Right.
Yes. And because for me, my relationships are such a core value, that would absolutely dishevel me. Like I couldn't take it.
Sure.
So I found a coping strategy to break the cycle of whether it was a big argument or if it was ignoring. And I would basically fake an accident. Yeah. So I would literally pretend to fall down the stairs and, call out and, basically beg for attention. Yep. Or do something that was so shocking that it would interrupt the flow. And it worked every time. Yeah. Right? So I would, I'd fall downstairs and fake an injury. Yeah. Never really considering the fact that I could have really gotten hurt. Sure. And I was thinking about this morning because I realized that I used to do similar things as a child, and I never really thought about this.
Oh, okay, sure. I knew about the first one,
just this morning, I realized my parents didn't fight a lot when I was a kid.
Yep.
But if they did argue, I would, if I was in my bed sleeping, I would fake having a nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, I would call out and cry with the hope that my parents would stop and come and tend to me. It's a very long time behavior that I had.
You so dislike discourse that you would interrupt it in a way that was dramatic.
Because I didn't know how to, any other way. They're all coping mechanisms, right? I didn't know how to interrupt it.
How do you intervene?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. We all have intervention or coping strategies that I guarantee you, and that was beautiful, by the way, and I don't know if you could sense it, but there was a lot of emotion on your face bringing that out. But we all have strategies we use, all of us, to interrupt patterns that are hurting us emotionally and mentally. And what I have found to be true is that when most of us explain what our patterns of coping are, or let me rephrase that, most of us don't explain what our patterns of coping are because we believe that they are so fucked up. Yeah. And they are so destructive and they're so neurotic that if we ever told anybody, they'd want to put us in a hospital, put us on meds, give us a diagnosis of crazy. But who can't relate to that? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. And
can I just add? And this is one I just thought of now, but it wasn't even on my itinerary. When I was a teenager, I was so full of rage. And I'll talk about my rage in a second. I was so full of rage that if I got into a fight with my girlfriend, any number of the girlfriends I had when I was a teenager, if they started walking away, I would grab a knife and put it to my own neck to scare them into coming back. That's fucked up, but is it? Yeah. Or is that a mental, emotional break that we don't know what to do and we're not equipped to do better, more serving things? For me, I had so little self-worth, I didn't have a better idea of how to cope with that moment. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
So I want to re-engineer. I said it's fucked. It's not fucked up. Who can't relate to stuff like that?
I don't want anybody to share specifics because we don't want people to be uncomfortable right now. But if you can relate to anything of what we just said from your past, your current, just chime in with a yes.
Yeah, and you don't have to reveal if you don't want to.
Absolutely. Zoe just said, I can totally relate, Carrie. I used to scream and cry as loudly as I possibly could.
Yeah.
It's, and this is what, this is what we've learned how to do ourselves, and what's in everything that we teach, right? Is the ability to learn how to control and navigate extreme emotion,
Let's put words to that.
Yeah.
We have learned, first of all, we've learned to fill up our own self-worth. So those kinds of reactions just don't happen anymore. But because we've raised such a level of self-awareness, we don't react anymore. We respond.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. There's a moment, there's a pause between stimulus of what happened, right? And your reaction to what that stimulus is. Yeah. If you learn to own that moment, that pause between stimulus and reaction, you change reaction to response. Yeah. And that is power.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is power.
I'm just going to share some comments here. Loria says, you just gave me a new perspective on my ex-husband.
Yeah.
Lisa Arsenault, okay, I need to get this out. My smoking started at 14 after I was raped.
Yeah.
I felt that the smoking kept my mouth busy from talking. My parents didn't know for a while about the cigarettes.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And Tanya Buzaglo, sorry. Oh my God, my last boyfriend was just like that beat. He was an abuser mentally and physically with me.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much insight that we can gain from this when we start to recognize, there is never an excuse for being treated poorly or badly or being abused. Like, there's just no excuse for that, right?
Yep.
But when we start to understand that, an abuser who is actively acting out is using coping strategies to deal with their self-loathing as much as the person who's being abused is withdrawing and becoming passive to cope with it. So we're all trying to learn how to navigate.
Exactly.
And if we had the tools, things would change.
Own the space between stimulus and reaction.
Yeah.
That is the power.
Yeah.
Couple of things. We're not, unfortunately, going to be able to see every comment that comes through today, but I just want to shout out about 15 minutes ago, Muna said that she binges because it's the only way she can receive some temporary feel good. That's a beautiful admission. And Muna, I'm right there with you. I have long since slayed that dragon. Yeah. But that dragon was in me for a long time. I would binge eat. And then I would binge eat to make myself feel better. And while I was eating, I would feel better until I was done eating. Then I would fucking hate myself. I would loathe what I just did. And what did that lead to? Anybody know? Anybody want to guess? I would binge eat to make myself feel better, and as soon as I was done, I would hate on myself. What happened next?
More binge eating.
I would eat more.
Of course.
It's exactly.
Continue the cycle.
That was my cycle.
Absolutely.
From the time I was a young adult till I'd say mid-20s, right? So again, relatable. A few minutes ago, the lovely Elsie Lonis talked about stagnation. I couldn't agree more. If you are a camper, right? And you want to become a climber, for us, the key, the linchpin is vulnerability. Yeah. Be honest with yourself. You're afraid of something. You don't think yourself good enough. You don't have enough self-worth. Those words can't hurt you, right? It's your reaction to the words that can hurt you. Find the power of stimulus to reaction and learn how to respond instead. There is power in saying, I don't think I'm good enough. Yeah. I don't find myself attractive enough. There's power in that. Because when we have the truth, we can change the truth. But if the truth stays up here hidden, because we're hiding it, we're deluding ourselves, then it manifests itself as binge eating, hating on myself, binging, eating more. I didn't binge eat because I was hungry. I didn't binge eat because I like pizza. I binge ate because I felt disgusting about myself. And at the time, smoking and prior to that, food were the only mechanisms that made me feel better temporarily. Yeah. So get that out, and then everything starts to change. Yeah,
completely.
Right? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
How are you guys doing? Everybody good?
The shares that are going on right now, you guys are all beautiful, and I love the fact that people are diving off and sharing some of their deepest vulnerabilities.
I'm so proud of crew. I'm so proud. Mary Beth has chills thinking of your experience as a child and thinking of my child as a parent. Agreed. You know what? Let me tell you something. Carrie and I have worked overtime. I think one of the reasons we have such an amazing relationship with our kids is that we have not had the usual parental lobotomy.
Right.
Parents have this way of forgetting that they went through the same shit that their kids are going through, that we all acted out, spoke with a little bit of disrespect, blah, 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 right? Yeah. So we don't tend to overreact to it. We're calm. We respond. We lay out expectations, but we also don't shame our kids in any way.
Yep.
You know what happens when my son gets a bad grade? You know, can I be honest? I tell him, yeah, I fucked up in math all the time.
Yeah, like multiple times.
Well, what am I? What am I, a fucking hypocrite?
Right.
I failed grade 10 math 3 times. 3 times I failed grade 10 math in high school. So my son fails a grade 10 math test. He comes home and tells me, I'm going to get pissed at him?
Yeah.
Who the fuck am I? I'm the guy 25 years ago who failed the fucking course 3 times.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Right.
So he knows when I'm being an idiot and a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the comment, Mary. We are very careful of how we talk to our kids.
Yes.
Careful is the wrong word.
Considerate.
Considerate. We don't walk around on eggshells, but we're honest. We're real. We're vulnerable with them.
Mm-hmm.
Both my kids know I smoked. Mm-hmm. Both my kids know I used to binge eat.
Yeah.
Because I'm empowering them to understand why smoking's not a good idea. And you know, can I tell you something? Can I tell what everybody needs to know in this whole stop smoking campaign? Nobody gives a shit about the health consequences.
Yeah, right.
Nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. Like, we care, but it's not enough to make me want to quit smoking.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't.
Yes.
Right? So I don't tell my kids like they do in school, don't smoke or you're going to have bad skin.
Kids can't relate. Kids can't
You can't relate. You're going to have a heart attack. You know, okay, I'm fucking 13. Explain to them why people smoke.
Yeah.
Explain to them what the reasons they smoke are and how you can, you know, change the reasons. That's how you prevent it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how you prevent it all. Okay, now, my next one.
Go.
Anybody here who's at Crew Day?
Who was at Crew Day?
Tiffany, Muna, Steve and Tammy Montefinesse were here. There were others. Loria was here.
Loria was here.
Maybe you saw it, maybe you noticed it, maybe you don't. Right about here. Right there. I've got a scar on my forehead. It's pretty faint, but it's long.
Yeah.
Okay? I was a fighter. I was a boxer. I was a mixed martial artist. I fought a lot. Mm-hmm. So when this happened, the cut that gave me that scar, oddly, I'm not Harry Potter, however.
I don't get the reference.
Oh, because you don't watch Harry Potter. Everybody else gets it.
I'm a wizard. He's a wizard, right?
He's a wizard.
Okay.
He's the one who killed He Who Shall Not Be
Is
Named.
that the one with the little golem thing?
Yes.
Okay.
The house elf. Dobby.
Good thing we threw some funny in here because I don't know what we're talking about.
Back to my scar. So maybe you noticed it, maybe you didn't, okay? But when I got that scar, okay, what I told my friends that night, because I was taken to the emergency room at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I told my friends that I had tripped over something and somehow slammed into a wall, knocked myself unconscious, and that's how it happened. They all believed it, or at least they told me I did. Ever since that, for the next couple of years, I told people that it was an errand left hook. I was in a boxing fight, and I took a left hook, and I didn't see it, and so I kind of walked into it, and he hit me, and it split my forehead open, and that's actually not that uncommon. So I went with that for a while, until I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, when I decided to start telling the truth, because it was vulnerable. And the vulnerability is something that when you do it, it becomes contagious. You recognize how it's going to free you. Truth is, I was so full of rage at varying points in my life, which, by the way, I no longer am. I'm such a fucking teddy bear now.
He's a dog or a teddy bear or whatever animal.
Right? I just don't get mad anymore. But like, I would get mad if the wind blew the wrong way. Yeah. And when I got mad in the past, things would break.
Yeah.
And that would include me. So there was one time that an ex-girlfriend of mine got me so riled up. And I say she got me riled up. It's not her fault. I got myself riled up. Mm-hmm. We were talking on the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got myself all riled up and pissed. She had a habit of when there was disagreement between her and I, she would basically fuck off for 3 weeks. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't call me. She wouldn't receive my calls. She wouldn't return my texts. So I knew at that moment that I was about to be ignored for the next 21 days. Mm-hmm. And I was so full of rage that I got off of my chair where I was sitting, threw my phone against the wall, took my cupboard door, and slammed it into my own head until I was unconscious. And cut myself for, I think there's 16 stitches up there. That's the degree of rage I used to have. I hid that for a long time. Why did I hide that? Because anybody who admits that they threw a closet door into their own skull until they were unconscious needs to go on medication, needs to be hospitalized, is somehow really fucked up. And that guy is not a leader. Leaders have their shit together. Bullshit. Every single person watching right now, Every single person on the planet can relate to that story. Maybe you don't have rage. Maybe you wouldn't hit yourself in the head with a closet door, but you would overeat. Mm-hmm. You would secretly smoke marijuana. You would inject heroin. You would do all kinds of behaviors that were coping strategies for you. Yeah. So that is my scar. Mm. You don't like that one, eh?
I hate thinking about you sad.
I wasn't sad. I was angry as hell.
I hate to say it like tears me up inside thinking about those days for you.
Yeah. I'm not that guy anymore, though.
I'm so happy you're not so sad anymore and angry. Trixie, a beautiful share.
Yeah,
and Trixie's
gorgeous.
rather new to the show, so I just wanted to acknowledge your vulnerability there. I'm going to keep going because I want to make sure we get to all of these today.
Absolutely.
I don't like this. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of background for those of you on the show who are new to this element of us, because some people don't know us very well.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I referenced it at the beginning. All my stories and negative kind of stuff was around relationships.
Yep.
During the time that I was married to my first marriage, I spent a lot of time suppressing.
Yeah.
So I really didn't know what was going on in my unconscious, right? And that's, I think, what's so important is we don't know what's going on until we know. Right? We don't know how to do anything with it. I wasn't aware of all this stuff that I'm talking about today. The next two examples that I'm going to give you, especially this next one, like I had no clue until like 2 years after the fact that this was what was driving these actions.
Yeah. Okay?
So when Brian and I got together, it took all of like 2 months for me to realize that I had a massive story about my self-worth as pertained to being good enough for Brian.
Yes.
Like it was a big thing. And a lot of my actions and reactions had to do with me feeling accepted by Brian. And that was nothing he did. Like, let me just say it again. It was nothing Brian did. It was my own internal story. Okay. Yeah. So when I was thinking about this today, I realized, well, I didn't realize, I've realized this for a long time. I've just never shared this with anybody, that for the first probably 2 years we were together, every single fitness path I chose was based on whether or not I believed Brian thought it would make me desirable.
Yeah.
He would he would make a comment about so-and-so, a fitness competitor on stage, and she looks awesome. And so,
which I never meant anything by those comments either. We'd be talking, yeah.
And so I would go and do that.
Yep.
And then he would talk about so-and-so who's a dancer. So then I was a dancer.
Yeah.
And he would talk about how fighting was sexy in women. So I took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Mm-hmm. And I realized at one point that like when I came out of this people-pleasing stuff,
sure,
that every single one of my decisions of what I was doing for my fitness lifestyle was based on an acceptance and approval from Brian, and if he would find me desirable enough. And so I was trying to make myself more desirable.
Absolutely.
And I got out of my own way on that one a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
And instead,
I mean that's these are happily long ago moments for us. But boy, were they real.
But when you really sit back and assess the drivers, it was like, what the fuck? You know, it was a shocker.
When you have that kind of self-worth, how do you make money?
Yeah.
How do you find happiness? Mm-hmm. How do you servant lead?
Yeah.
Right? That's the point of all of this, is that we came to recognize that our desire was to have massive impact in the world, to be servant leaders, to be happy without needing a reason to be happy, and to enjoy all the abundance that comes with that. And the only way to receive any of it, and to become a climber, was to eliminate the limits that were holding us back, and these vulnerabilities were it.
Yeah.
And we all have them. I always ask the same thing. Maybe that story doesn't resonate with you because it's not your story, but hear the point.
Right.
You're holding yourself back. You are trying to be something for someone else or other people. You know where I hear about this a lot, and I have never, ever, 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 ever made any bones about this. I don't like shitting on anybody, and I don't do it by name, but I do it by genre. And I can't stand the current trend of tough guy and mentor coaches who take a bunch of men who apparently don't have balls, that's the way they market it, to a fucking secluded islands where they have to beat each other up and do Navy SEAL drills and man up, and that's how their fucking balls drop and they become men. You know, let me tell you something. Elsie Lonis, Krav Maga for 20 years. I'd love him to chime in on this. I was a fighter for a long time. You ready? The more you fucking talk and bark, the more I know you are the most insecure son of a bitch on the planet. Mm-hmm. I was a bouncer and a bodyguard. I used to love the guy who would chirp and talk a big game. You want to know why? Because I had nothing to worry about from that guy. Yeah. It's the guys who don't need to be the tough guy. Mm-hmm. It's the guys who don't need to go over the top and I survived the Navy SEALs training and I graduated from this and my balls dropped, now I'm a big strong man. Those guys are broken, for fuck's sakes. They have vulnerability they should get out as opposed to pretend to be tough. Yeah. You know, and that's why I'm saying that. Like, maybe you do or don't resonate with what Carrie just said, but find your voice in it and resonate with that. Yes. Does that make sense?
It will make sense to me. Does it make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
And LC was in agreement with you.
Of course. So is Billy, by the way, who could kill you with a potato. There's another example of a guy who knows exactly how to fight and defend himself and defend his family. And he knows. Look, quiet confidence is the guy you worry about. Yeah. The guy who's yammering on is the guy who's probably not got a lot behind him.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Tiffany Maxim. She goes, when you have that people-pleasing vulnerability with someone and the response is, well, you shouldn't be that way. Thank you, Captain Obvious. What the fuck? The worst thing to tell somebody who has a bad habit or a bad or behavior that's not serving them is that they shouldn't be that way. Because we all know it. Right? It's like telling someone like who smokes, don't do that. Well, duh.
Shit, you know what? I have a
because I want to.
I have a Hall of Fame of least favorites when it comes to that. You know can I give you my least favorites? Here are the Hall of Fame for me. Yeah. Okay. The overweight people. Don't you know that that's unhealthy?
Yeah, no.
No, because I'm fucking stupid. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
oh man, sometimes
fitness professionals are amongst the most well-intentioned and dumb people I've ever met in my entire life. We actually think fitness is about physical fitness. It's about mental and emotional challenge and limits. Yes. That's why people can't lose weight and keep it off.
Of course.
My next one, all you need to do is think positive and positive things will happen to you. Oh, okay. I'll get right on that, jackass.
Hashtag I'll get right
on that jackass.
Sorry.
We have mental emotional limits. We can't. Anybody ever tried to put duct tape or a Band-Aid over a knife wound? Mm-hmm. Not very effective. Fucking A. Yeah.
Muna says, what? It's unhealthy?
Oh, well, now I get it. Yes. Oh, fuck.
And Vinny says, everyone's an expert, eh? I love it. I love how we bring in humor and you guys, like, we switch from, like, everybody's crying to everybody's laughing.
Yeah. I love how we bring in humor and how we tell the fucking truth. I love that part, too. Oh. Can I say one more?
Yeah.
Okay? Here's my last one. And I'm going to quote. I wrote it down when you went. I had a different vulnerability moment. I'm going to give you this one instead.
Okay.
It's actually the biggest one.
Okay.
Okay? Brian Sakowitz, who is a dear friend, a dear member of Crew Nation, wrote, and I know because he's told us, he's expressed it on the show, that anger and anger management has been issues for him as well.
Yeah.
So when I talked about rage and banging my head into a closet door, by the way, I did not bang my head into a closet door. I banged the closet door into my head, which I think is way more violent, I might add.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what Brian wrote, okay? Being angry is a great way to hide how you really feel. Okay, so let me divulge the last part. Why did I binge eat, self-loathe, and then binge eat again? Why did I smoke? Why did I bang closet doors into my head? Why did I, in my life, have I actually punched and broken 2 mirrors in bathrooms? Because I hated my reflection so much. The only thing I knew how to do was punch it to get rid of it. Why did I do all that? Because I hated myself. Because I hated myself. And why did I hate myself? What's the genesis? Well, I'll be honest. I don't think the genesis matters. Yeah. I think people search forever. Why am I like this? Why do I think this way? I don't think it matters. I think it matters that you know you can rewrite a new story. But I can tell you my childhood was rife with neglect. It was rife with isolation and loneliness. It was rife with ignoring. It was rife with, I didn't matter. Or at least I didn't feel like I mattered.
Yep.
So I want to say this. Why do we not, I mean, we have a very successful business. This live stream could be about starting successful businesses. Yeah. We have a very successful fitness life. This live stream could be about fitness. We have an amazing relationship and great parenting. This live stream could be about that. Why is it about none of those things? Because we know that isolation and loneliness and self-loathing goes deep into everybody.
Yes.
And we want it to be a beacon of light to shine so that you don't feel alone.
Yes.
That's why.
And we also know, like we've said it 1,000 times, it's the root of everything.
Yes.
You know, absolutely. And I just, one second.
Yeah.
I just want to take...
Sure.
Okay, you know, I think for me, you know, anger, crying, whatever your mechanism of coping is, it's all a mask to what we're really feeling is not good enough. At the core of everything is self-worth. At the core of everything.
Exactly.
You're not feeling good enough for someone, something, or insert whatever it is that is what you're not good enough for.
Exactly.
Right? So I love that. I'm going to share my last one.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one that the only person in the world who knows is this guy.
Yeah.
So this goes back, you know, back to the years when Brian and I, like in the first year that we were together, when all of a sudden all the suppression that I had in my previous life came up.
Yeah.
And I was a clusterfuck of what the fuck is going on with me. And we would get into just these, you know, we would get into arguments and we would get into situations that completely disconnected our connection.
Yep.
And that for me, people, you have got to understand, the worst feeling in the world to me is being disconnected from Brian.
Yeah.
Because it disconnects me from myself.
Yeah.
It's like, I stand in myself very well. I do not need Brian. I want Brian. But when there's a breach in our relationship, there's something missing from what fills me up.
Yeah.
So back in the days where, you know, it was so bad, I am not a yeller. So I do not yell. I do not throw things. That's never been who I am because I'm a suppressor classically, right? So back in those days, in order to ease the pain of what I was feeling in those moments, I would literally punch myself in the face.
Yeah.
Do
I ever remember that?
I would, and it doesn't matter. Like if we were out in public, I would go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And would just like kind of clench my jaw. I'm trembling as I tell this story. I would clench my jaw and I would just like calf a few times right in the jaw.
Yeah.
That I would feel that
days
later. Now this was not a daily occurrence.
No.
This is like it happened several times. But wow, talk about a thing that you don't want to tell anybody.
Yeah, because
at all.
Society makes you feel as though you're Looney Tunes.
Yes.
You're not Looney Tunes. Nobody is. Society does a shit job of helping us understand ourselves. Yeah. And I want to bring us back to the intrinsic goals we all share. We want to know ourselves and walk in that truth. We want to be happy and we want to serve and belong to something. That's what we all want. Yeah. Over and over again.
Yep.
These behaviors of self-inflicted pain, self-inflicted of, loathing, eating and smoking. Can I say my comment of the day?
Yeah.
It goes to Brian Sakowitz.
I had one for him too as well.
Yeah. Being angry is a great way to hide how you really feel. You know why that's the comment of the day? Because it transposes. Punching yourself in the face is a great way of hiding how you really feel. Slamming a door into your head is a great way of hiding how you really feel. Overeating and binge eating is a great way to hide how you really feel. Over smoking is a great way to hide how you really feel. Yep. Not looking in a mirror because you're hating on yourself is a great way to hide how you really feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why it's a comment of the day for me, because it speaks to everything any one of us can relate to.
Absolutely. I'm going to give Brian Sakowitz my comment of the day because you as well. You said, I don't give a crap why I acted like that. All that matters is the now. And
it goes back to why I'm not a huge fan of some psychologists.
Right.
Why are we like that? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to, what I want to share, as my final piece today is that, I think that there's so much power in this little tribe of ours and the Crew Nation, because a lot of people will share these vulnerabilities but then make the victimized decision to stay in them. Yes, right?
Well, you either stay as a quitter or a camper.
Exactly. And I think, Brian and I, are climbers, and we've climbed together, and the climbing is what allowed us to find the path to create what we've created, to show you how to climb.
Exactly.
Okay, so whatever vulnerability you're feeling or you've shared, let's not stay camping there.
Right.
Let's climb. because that's everything that we give you as tools and strategies, and the work that we do. That is the purpose of it, is 100%. To help you climb and to keep climbing.
We don't tell you to be vulnerable. We are vulnerable and hope that you feel safe enough to do it. We don't then just leave you hanging there. We give you tools to change the story.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yes.
Guys, this was great. I just loved it. I want to say hats off right now to Michelle Adams. Thank you for sharing that, Carrie. This is opening so much for me. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely.
I love that Dr. Mark Test is still here. We love you too, big boy. Elisa, you are equally beautiful. Sassy Pants Basista, so much love for you. Neil says, thank you for sharing. Carrie, I still need to learn to be vulnerable with myself before I can with anyone else. Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course. Lee Patterson, I was frozen. Now I know why. I'm peeling the next layer. Thank you for filling us up.
Absolutely. On the topic of being vulnerable, can I say for me it was a double whammy? Because my stories were with regards to you.
Yeah.
But you get over it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Mad love for you all. As always, we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Fucked Up Friday. Join us 10 a.m. Eastern. And how do we always close the show? Remember where you're going. Count the wins along the way. Imagine all the glory and be mindful of what you say. Love you, Crew Nation.
Bye.